Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. On today's episode, Anthropic quietly changes how it bills Claude Code, Google rewires NotebookLM and kills an enterprise add-on at the same time, and I share a model routing hack that cut my own bill nearly 3/4. And look, in last week's episode titled "The Bill Has Arrived," we covered Microsoft's GitHub Copilot pricing shift to usage-based AI credits effective June 1st. The headline plan prices stayed the same, but underneath, Microsoft moved to 1 cent per AI credit metering for chat and agent mode. A single agentic Copilot session burns 30 to 40 credits. Developers reported their monthly bills jumping by an order of magnitude or more on agent-heavy workflows. Plus, GitHub Copilot's agentic code review also consumes GitHub Actions minutes, a double meter. Last week, Microsoft did exactly this with GitHub Copilot. Today, Anthropic shipped the same playbook for Claude Code. The headline price did not change. The meter underneath it did. If the GitHub story felt distant because you do not write code, this Anthropic version lands closer to home. Claude Code is what your team is using to write strategy memos, due diligence summaries, and meeting prep. So here's exactly what Anthropic did. Anthropic split Claude Code subscriptions into 2 distinct lines. There are interactive seats for human-in-the-loop work, and there is a separately metered Agent SDK credit pool for autonomous agent runs, scheduled workflows, multi-step chains without a human pressing enter. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, the toolkit that lets code call the model programmatically. That credit pool does not roll over month to month. Per developer monthly cost is now swinging widely depending on SDK traffic. The Anthropic console gives you SSO, SCIM, audit logs, but no per user cost attribution, no department chargebacks, no license utilization out of the box. Cloudera reports its customers' Anthropic spend grew 12 times year over year. Here is what to do. Look at your June statement before the autopay hits. Set a calendar reminder for the 28th of every month. Pull the spending detail, tag the SDK line items by project, meaning by workflow, and separate background agent burn from interactive use. That is the only way to see which automated chains are eating the budget. That's the bill side. Now move to the access side because Google did something on Monday that pulls in the same direction. Google upgraded NotebookLM on Monday to run on Gemini 3.5 plus Antigravity. Antigravity is Google's agent runtime, the layer that plans, executes, and verifies multi-step work. Every notebook now provisions a secure cloud computer that writes and runs Python code with over 100 curated software skills built in. Outputs include native PDFs with charts, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint decks, Word documents, plus images via Nano Banana. All editable after generation. You can now start a notebook with 0 sources. It builds the source repository for you via Google search. Google's own evaluation claims about 65% average win rate versus prior NotebookLM, about a 15-point margin above parity, about 70% on large document analysis, about 78% on advanced web research. Available globally on web today on paid tiers only. Personal Google AI Ultra at about $250 a month, or Workspace customers on AI Ultra Access or AI Expanded Access. Here is the kill. Google is removing the AI Ultra Access add-on. Customers on flexible plans auto-transition to AI Expanded Access on July 7th. Annual customers transition at next renewal post July 7th. Education and personal Gmail. Workspace customers have their licenses canceled outright. Result, Antigravity, Gemini CLI, and Gemini Code Assist disappear from Workspace unless the customer migrates to Gemini Enterprise, a separate product, or moves users to personal Google AI Ultra accounts. A $250 per month Workspace customer reported in a developer forum that Google told them in writing to migrate to a personal account to keep Antigravity. Why it matters. Imagine prepping for a board meeting by dropping 40 PDFs of diligence materials into a notebook and asking it to synthesize 3 strategic risks, build a comparative financial table, and draft the slide deck, all in one session with verifiable citations. That is the level of work this upgrade enables. But the access path just fractured. Sanctioned Workspace tools are being gated. The operator workaround is a personal card and a personal account. What to do? If your team runs on Workspace, audit which seats actually use Antigravity or Gemini Code Assist. Map the July 7th deadline. For each affected user, compare the cost of a personal Google AI Ultra account at about $250 a month versus a Gemini Enterprise migration. Do not assume the enterprise path is cheaper. Price it both ways. Those are the two big moves. Now, let me share what I'm doing about it on my own desk. Last month, my personal AI token spend came in just under $15,000. At that level, I wanted to know if I was paying the brand name premium or whether the delta in output quality justified the cost delta. I ran back-to-back analysis on real complex work using Claude Opus 4.8 versus NVIDIA Nematron 3 Ultra, called Nemo Ultra or Nematron Ultra via OpenRouter. Nematron is about 90% cheaper per token than Opus 4.8. On each of my 5 major workflows, research synthesis across dozens of sources, document analysis of 100-page filings, multi-step reasoning chains that hold context across turns, code generation for internal tooling, and strategic memo drafting, Nematron with high reasoning produced better deliverables than Opus 4.8. Better meant deeper analysis, fewer hedges, more structured output that required less rewriting before going to a colleague. Slightly slower, likely due to OpenRouter API overhead. I forecast about 70% savings on those calls by rerouting high-reasoning Perplexity tasks from Opus to Nematron. Not the full 90% because some orchestration still needs Opus for decisioning before handing off to the API. That's one test. Here's another I just finished. Perplexity Spaces versus Claude Projects on detailed reasoning and context-heavy work. Perplexity Spaces are persistent workspaces that keep sources and context across queries. Claude Projects are the equivalent inside Anthropic's interface. I expected contextual awareness degradation when opening new tasks inside a Perplexity space versus opening new chats inside a Claude project. I have not noticed any difference. I am now analyzing whether to maintain any Claude projects at all. The pricing edge is real, and the access model is the point. Perplexity built a backdoor into enterprise-grade security. One Perplexity Max seat, about $200 a month, unlocks audit logs, SCIM, role-based access, and SOC2 controls across your entire organization. Additional users sit on Enterprise Pro at about $40 per seat per month. The floor to get a small team onto governed AI is roughly $3,000 a year. Claude Enterprise gets you to the same security posture, but the path is quote-driven and starts much higher. The tip: I asked Perplexity to show me which model it's considering for each task. It returns the model name as text in the answer line before the answer starts streaming. So the very first thing that comes back from a query is the text Nematron Ultra or Opus 4.8. Then the streamed answer follows. Reason for the tip: transparency is not always there. Some of last month's spend was routing, file actions, orchestration that could have been done by Sonnet at a discount, but ran on Opus instead. The discipline is the A/B test itself, not the model of the moment. Today, Nematron wins. Maybe 4 weeks from now, it might be something else. That's the discipline: test, measure, route. Now, 2 announcements before I close. Saturday deep dive editions are launching, workshop-style sessions on specific topics like agentic security, workforce transformation, portable AI memory. Inspired by modules I presented at the MIT Executive Education Program for YPO's Deep Tech Bootcamp. One topic getting heavy listener interest: how to build a personal AI memory layer that survives vendor churn. A reference website is in development. We'll host artifacts, frameworks, and tools mentioned on the show so listeners can find them. Let me close by pulling these threads together. In yesterday's episode titled Apple Blinks, the thesis was nobody wins alone. Today's twist: the operators getting real leverage right now are mostly the ones going it alone on personal accounts and personal cards. In last week's episode titled The Bill Has Arrived, we covered Microsoft moving GitHub Copilot to per-credit token metering on June 1st. The headline prices held, the meter underneath changed, agent sessions burned 30 to 40 credits each. Developers saw their monthly bills jump dramatically. Anthropic just shipped the same playbook for Claude Code. The pattern across these stories is control. Vendors are restructuring pricing, gating access, and hiding model routing behind convenience layers. The operators who keep leverage are the ones who read the statement, map the deadline, and test the cheaper model themselves. That is the YPO Tech Network AI brief for Wednesday. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back Thursday with more. Until then, stay sharp.